My guest at this time is Ashley McGuire, Senior Fellow at the Catholic Association. She is also the author of Sex Scandal, The Drive to Abolish Male and Female. She joins me today to offer her insights into Democrats in numerous states pushing legislation to remove restrictions on abortion and allow abortions throughout the third trimester so long as an abortion provider deems it beneficial for the mother's health. And Ashley, thanks so much for being with us.
Hey, it's great to be with you.
Well, we had the big controversy in New York last week when that bill was passed and signed into law. A different story in Virginia this week, a very much similar bill, but it died in subcommittee largely because Republicans narrowly control the legislature there. But there are a couple of pieces of audio, and many people have seen this as video, that tell the story from Virginia this week. First of all, here's Democratic Delegate Kathy Tram explaining her bill under questioning from Republican House Majority Leader Todd Gilbert on Tuesday.
How late in the third trimester could a physician perform an abortion if he indicated it would impair the mental health of the woman?
Or physical health.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm talking about the mental health.
So, through the third trimester. The third trimester goes all the way up to 40 weeks.
Okay. But to the end of the third trimester.
Yep. I don't think we have a limit in the bill.
Where it's obvious that a woman is about to give birth. She has physical signs that she is about to give a birth. Would that still be a point at which she could request an abortion if she was so certified? She's dilating.
Mr. Chairman, that would be a decision that the doctor, the physician, and the woman would make.
I understand that. I'm asking
point.
if your bill allows that.
My bill would allow that, yes.
And then on Wednesday, Virginia Democratic Governor Ralph Northam was on WTOP Radio's Ask the Governor program. He was asked about this legislation and what would actually happen if a child was born during an attempted abortion.
So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother.
A lot of people see that as Northam essentially describing infanticide. He's pushing back, saying he was only really describing cases where the child is not considered viable or has severe defects, which is the centerpiece of another part of the debate. But we'll get to a lot of this in the next few minutes here. First of all, Ashley, what's your general reaction to the bill and the explanation of it by Delegate Tran and Governor Northam?
Well, I think what all of this shows is how extreme the left has gotten on abortion. The overwhelming majority of Americans, by a 9-to-1 ratio, opposed third trimester abortions. In fact, most Americans, even those who self-identify as pro-choice, are only okay with it in the first trimester. And for some reason, Democrats are pushing this to its most extreme lengths. And even with the example of Governor Northam, I believe, talking about infanticide. So it just goes to show, A, the extremism that's driving the pro-choice movement, and B, just how out of touch Democrats have gotten with average Americans on the issue of abortion.
What's your rebuttal to Governor Northam and others who insist that he was only talking about cases where there are severe defects and that the child would not be expected to live very long?
Well, I've been a little bit confused about the Governor Northam thing. I went and watched the clip myself, and it's not clear what the question was that he was asked. But again, in this country, if a baby is born alive, you are required to treat that child as if it is a living human being. You don't just leave it there to die on the table. That being said, there are Democrats in this country who are on record voting against life-saving care for children, for babies born from botched abortions. So it's shocking, and it's especially shocking to hear the sort of detached, casual way that he talks about a baby left to die. But the reality is that this is a view that people hold. And I think there's one other thing about his comments that's important and illustrative of where the left is on this issue, which is it gets to the fact that, or the question of what is the difference really between an abortion right before a baby's born and killing a baby right after it's born. So I think it's kind of showing that when you take their position to its logical extreme, it's pretty appalling and barbaric.
One of the things we saw a couple of years ago, Ashley, is universal political condemnation for Dr. Kermit Gosnell, who was convicted of killing babies after attempting to abort them. So when you see legislators and governors in New York and Virginia, and I know there's efforts I believe in Vermont and Rhode Island and maybe some other places around the country to allow abortion right up to the point of delivery and depending on how you interpret Governor Northam, even after delivery. What does it suggest, if anything, about whether the left was really all that appalled by Dr. Gosnell?
Well, I mean, I think the left tried to keep that story quiet for a long time and refused to report on it. And it was only because of a few brave reporters that the story really was brought into light. But no, I mean, it's true. It's like we've learned nothing from Gosnell. I mean, you look at what Texas tried to do, which was pass sensible protections for women to make sure that something like a Gosnell could never exist again. That went all the way to the Supreme Court and was defeated. And then now you have, leadership like Governor Northam out there basically arguing for, I mean, what's the difference between leaving it comfortable, as he said, and not resuscitated versus twisting his neck, which is what Gosnell did? Really not much. Again, we've entered a sort of weird world of distinctions without differences where, what is the difference between infanticide and between aborting a 7-pound baby when the mother is dilating? These are the sorts of questions that I think, I mean, if there's any sort of positive coming out of all of this, is that it's I think, shedding light for Americans on the grotesque extremism that's gotten the Democratic Party in a chokehold when it comes to abortion.
Well, I want to get your analysis on why you think they're pushing this now. But before we do that, you mentioned the fact that the media didn't spend a lot of time on the Gosnell case. There's also been folks pointing out that most of the attention to what's been happening in New York and especially in Virginia over the past couple of days is mainly through social media and conservative media outlets. One person, the day after Kathy Tran was explaining her bill to the House Majority Leader, there was nothing turned up on a Washington Post search for it, either online, and there's nothing in the print edition as well. So what do you make of the mainstream media's handling of this issue?
It's a good question. I mean, I just think if there's any reluctance to report on it, it's because it's hard not to report on it in a factual way without shedding light on its extremism, which doesn't bode well for the left politically. So
where do you think this is headed, and why do you think we're seeing this push in so many states right now?
Well, there's a fear on the left that with the change in the Supreme Court, with Brett Kavanaugh now on, that there's a possibility that Roe v. Wade will be either overturned or chipped away at. That if some of this state legislation that's been passed at the local level makes its way up there and it's upheld, this will undermine access to abortion. So you have states scrambling to pass abortion laws. But what it really shows is a reality that I think Americans have been misled about, which is that overturning Roe v. Wade does not mean that abortion is outlawed. In some states it would be. What overturning Roe v. Wade would mean is returning this issue back to the states. And then you have a variety. You've got states where it would be completely outlawed, and then you have states like New York that would allow it up until the moment before birth, or, if Delegate Tran got her way, up until a woman's in labor, which, hearing her, it's hard not to wonder what the difference is between what she was talking about in partial birth abortion, which was outlawed 10 years ago in this country.
Ashley, thank you very much for your time today. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ashley McGuire is Senior Fellow at the Catholic Association. She's also the author of Sex Scandal, The Drive to Abolish Male and Female. I'm Greg Columbus reporting for Radio America.